Okay. And I don't know who she is.
This is Kim Bolo.
Kim.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Your new concert.
I am.
Okay.
I don't think you were here when I started
No.
last week,
No.
so.
I was in a surgical visit.
Oh,
You ready?
I'm ready. I'm on.
Okay.
Thanks.
So it's 1 o'clock. We'll start the monthly meeting of the Child Youth Services Committee. For the record, we'll go around the room. Chris Rogers, County Board. County Board. Claire Duda, County Board.
Thank you.
Kim Murphy, County Administration.
Dan Ash, County Clerk.
Kimbolo, County Clerk Office.
Yep.
Catherine Hall, County Administration.
Marco Floor, Douglas County Youth Center.
Janae Pancook, Operation Youth Success.
Charity Evans, guest from Nebraska Medicine.
Ashley Farron's also a guest from Nebraska Medicine.
Stuart Giddings, guest from Utah.
Guests on the wall can state their name if they want. They don't have to, if you want to. Seeing none, they don't want to. Thanks. Mark, we'll start with you in the video.
Great. As we've mentioned before during our presentations for the county board, we have been looking for different ways to reach out to our young people that we've found have had a variety of different challenges. And a part of the tools that has come to us is kind of twofold. One, the U-Turn organization, which is actually a best practice program for gang intervention, is a part of the programming at the youth center. And U-Turn is partnered with Dusk to Dawn, which is also part of the gang prevention piece, but it's more from a medical standpoint. And Dr. Charity Evans and Ashley Farron are part of the individuals who were responsible for the grant. And over the past month and a half, all of the youth at the youth center have seen this video. We're very pleased with it because it really does give a clear picture of what some of the challenges are for youth who experience gang violence. So I'd like to, at this time, give the floor over to our guests so they can talk a little bit about what they do in the video. And for the actual Douglas County report, I'm just going to pass out information about where we are statistically. And if anyone has any questions, you could do that at the end of the video or reach out to me and we'll see what we can do to answer any questions regarding the stats that's being shared.
Okay. We'll take it from there. So hi everyone, and thank you again for inviting us to this meeting. And good to see you again, Chris. So I'm one of the trauma surgeons, Charity Evans, one of the trauma surgeons at Nebraska Medicine. And together with Ashley Farron, she's our violence prevention coordinator, we have worked over the last few years to create a youth violence prevention program called Dusk to Dawn. And what we're going to start out with here is a video. So the traditional program has been that the youth come to the hospital and that I take them through the resuscitation of a 20-year-old who was shot once in the chest in 2015 and died in our trauma bay 11 minutes after he arrived. And so in the traditional program at the hospital, we would take the youth through what that resuscitation was looked like. This is not a scared straight approach. Our meaning of doing this is to engage the youth in what lengths we go to in an attempt to save a life after something as simple as a single gunshot wound. And we use Roberto's story to be able to talk about the risk factors and the protective factors related to violence. And so this program was adapted from a program out in Philadelphia at Temple University called Cradle to Grave. And so it is a program that has been picked up by several trauma centers across the U.S. And we started this program back in April of 2017, so we're a little bit over a year, and we'll talk some about what the program looks like. But what we're going to start with was when Mark came to us and said, could we bring the program to the center? One of our concerns is that we lose that kind of attention getter of being in the trauma bay, and so we wanted to reenact that and be able to bring the show on the road, per se, and that's what this video is. So traditionally, or typically when we are at the center, what we would do is to show this video to the kids and then go into the 2-hour program that is Dusk to Dawn. So that's what we're going to show you first, and we'll talk some about what the actual program is.
He liked to play basketball. He liked to skateboard. He always made everybody laugh. He didn't really like going to school, but he was really smart. He knew all the names of the dinosaurs. His favorite food was lasagna. So every year I would tell him, I might not have enough money for a present, but if you want me to, I can make your favorite food. And he would say, okay, go ahead and make me lasagna. The older we got, we became closer and best friends, I would say. When he was born, it was one of the happiest times of my life. I have a special picture that after I had him, the doctors put him on my chest. I put a little bit of makeup and I went to sleep and I just laid him on my chest and someone took a picture of me like that. He went to Mars Elementary. As he got older, he went to South High and he started hanging around with the wrong crowd, making bad choices, At first it was just skipping school, which led to him like going out more, smoking marijuana. He had a girlfriend and she got pregnant. He was going to be the father that he didn't have because his dad, of course, not just divorced me, but he divorced the kids. He didn't really get to see them, and then he went to Mexico. He did get in trouble, go to jail, and we would talk to him and tell him to make the best out of things. That our motto with him and his with us was that everything does happen for a reason. He was so behind in high school that he took advantage when he was in jail to get his GED, which he got first try, first time. Since he smoked, he would smoke and sell weed on the side. He walked up to 24th and P, and that's what it was. The guys that met him there actually had a girl message him. So he thought he was meeting a girl. Well, I was working at the office and just happened to look up at the TV and I was like, wow, there was a shooting really close to where my son lived. I was like, I hope this kid is okay. I was the one that had to call my mom and tell her to meet me here. So I picked up the phone and she started saying, Mom, Roberto's been shot. And I was like, oh, no. I said, just slow down, just slow down. I want to hear what you got to say. And all I wanted to do is just to get close to my son. I just wanted to see him. I just wanted to hold him. I just wanted to be with him. I just had to just tell him everything was going to be okay.
Any other injuries? Single gunshot wound, fifth intercostal space. Epinephrine in yet? Yeah, one round of FEC. Nebraska Med, this is Medic 31. We're not your facility. Code 99 trauma. 20-year of age male. Single gunshot wound. Fifth intercostal space. Left side. PA upon arrival. This time we aren't doing compression. The patient is intubated, 752.
Watch shoes.
Hi guys. We are code 99 at this time. Got a single gunshot wound, fifth intercostal space, left side. PA first the entire time. No shock has been given. 1 milligram of epinephrine. 1,000 liters of blood loss on scene. We did get a good rush of air with the needle decompression. None noted. Intubated, 752. No pulse.
You bagging him?
I'm gonna do a thoracotomy on this side. No carotid pulse. Got massive amount of blood coming out.
Look up the suction.
Okay, we got a hole in the pericardium. I'm gonna open the pericardium. He's got a big hole in his ventricle. Can I please get a Foley? Okay, I got the Foley up. I got some control. I'm gonna cross clamp his aorta here. I'm digitally compressing first. Here, come up here. Can I get some intracardiac epi, please? Thank you.
We have blood available right here. Okay,
Okay, just right into his heart. Wipe your hand, wipe your hand, wipe your hand. Okay, keep doing CPR. You got any pulses? No carotid. I got my hand on his aorta down below. Keep doing CPR. Okay, I'm gonna,
wide open.
I'm gonna cross clamp him here. Okay, keep going. Hey, another dose of intracardiac epi, please. Come on, Brian Paul. Okay, hold on. Continue.
Okay, we have a right chested with no return, left chested.
And we stopped his hole here.
Okay.
You have access. How much fluid did you get?
We're in 1 unit right now. We can start a second.
You have any end tidal?
That title is still slow.
Not coming back. All right. So no end tidal. He's appropriately intubated. He's not metabolizing. Nothing on this chest. All the injuries got big hole in his ventricle. It's probably not fixable. Anybody have any suggestions?
No, I think we did everything.
All right. Stop CPR, please. Time of death is 9:04. Thanks, everybody.
I'm one of the trauma surgeons here at Nebraska Medicine, one of the surgeons that was caring for your son today.
I even got on my knees in the bathroom and prayed to God, and I said, please, God, I just want to make sure he's fine. I want to see him, that's all. It's not too bad. I'm not asking for anything else. I just want to see him. I know he's going to be okay. So we wait. It felt like forever. Forever. And the whole waiting room was my family, his friends. The whole waiting room. We had nowhere to wait. We had nowhere to sit. We were standing because there were so many of us.
He was shot in that in the field that his heart stopped. And so a bystander started CPR and they quickly brought him here to the hospital. When we got him to the trauma bay, his heart was still not beating. He wasn't awake for us. We did what we could to be able to save his life. I'm sorry to say your son is dead.
I said that my son was dead. All I did, I fell on the floor and I started crying like I was crazy. It was like a nightmare to me. I couldn't believe it. And we're all in the hallway waiting. And then we hear it. My mom screams. And we all knew. I tried to make everything okay, but a piece of me is gone since that day. It didn't feel real. For long, not just that day, for weeks. It didn't feel real. I didn't know what to do with myself. I don't think any of us knew. But it changes everybody. It changes all of us. And I don't wish that on anybody. Even those kids that did it. I don't wish it on them. I don't want another mother to go through what I'm going through. I know you guys hear it all the time. Finish school. Stop doing bad things. Drugs will lead you to nothing. You hear it all the time from adults. You hear it all the time from your family. And you think they're just nagging or trying to get to you for some reason, but they love you. People love you. And they just want you to do good. They don't tell you just to get on your nerves or make your life miserable. It's to save your life because they love you. They want you to do better for you. If something were to ever happen to you, it won't just end your life. It changes everybody's life that love you and care about you. Everybody's.
We respond to incidents that unfortunately happen, but we try to do the best we can out of the circumstances that we're dealt with. What we do when we come back to the fire station, our memories filled with images, and you know, it's really hard for us not only responding to the scene, and we're the first ones there, and we manage that very complex incident, but at the same token, we also get to see the family's initial reaction to the choices that the individuals made to cause that. And that's what's hard for us, is because we can truly relate to that family. You know, we're parents ourselves, we're brothers ourselves, we're brothers and sisters. So that's hard for us as well, having to deal with all that stress. You know, I think a lot of it has to do with choices. And the city of Omaha, the Omaha Police Department, the Omaha Fire Department, we urge, you know, individuals to make the right choices. You know, when you come down that road, you can go left or you can go right at the fork of the road. One of those got choices that, you know, aren't the best outcomes for individuals. So we ask that make the right choices in life. Well, this is a wake-up call that, you know what, this can happen to you, and this will happen to you if these choices continue to be made.
So it's the film. It usually doesn't make you dizzy. I apologize for the flashing. So, as I mentioned, I'm Charity Evans, and this is one of my partners in this project is Ashley Ferens. So what is Dusted On? It's a hospital-based youth violence prevention program. We offer this once a month in the evening, and then as needed at UNMC. So we've been putting on classes since April of last year, and then have recently moved over to DCYC. It's a 2.5-hour program. Starts with about 20 minutes in the trauma bay, or as you just watched, about a 10-minute video. And then followed by about 2 hours with Stuart Giddings, who's also here with us from U-Turn, as he makes his way through an anti-violence curriculum. We'll talk some about that. So this really is a large collaboration that took us several years. Collaboration between the Hospital of Nebraska Medicine and our academic partner, UNMC, College of Public Health to help us study and make sure that we're taking the correct approach to these youth. Omaha Police Department worked mostly with Ken Kanger, and then the Boys and Girls Club of the Midlands. As many of you know, they have 2 gang specialists that work in North and South Omaha, Alberto and Terrence, and then U-Turn has been our largest collaborator in helping us to put this class on a regular basis. So this is for youth ages 12 to 18 that are at risk, and we really rely on our referral program to be able to have those community members and those youth leaders to tell us who is at risk and who would benefit from this program. They're referred by either community program. We've seen kids from Boys and Girls Club, from Girls Inc., from
Hope Center, YMCA, probation, Judge Johnson's been really active, Girls Inc., and then we've got 12 really strong partners that were referring to us. We've been added to the Nebraska Family Helpline. We've got a handful of parents who have called looking for the program for help.
We do offer the program for free, so there is no cost to families or to the youth. The program that we're currently using is the Phoenix curriculum. This is a gang prevention and intervention program for youth. That is an evidence-based curriculum. It is actually an 8-week curriculum that we have taken out the portions that we think are relevant to a 2-hour discussion. That program starts with talking about dreams, values, and goals, and our goal here is to show the kids that there are good things in their lives and that there is a reason to think positive and want to make their way through their challenges. We then talk about their thoughts and their feelings and how thoughts and feelings in and of themselves are okay, but these often lead to actions, and using Roberto as an example of the things that he went through and the choices he made that led to the result that brought him to that corner that morning that he was killed. And then
speak just a little louder.
A little louder, sir.
In the back.
A little louder. Okay.
If you could speak up a little bit.
Absolutely. Sorry, I tend to not do that very well. So we also try to give them skills to make their way out of risky situations. And so we talk about stopping and thinking before an action, and then also how to get out of a risky situation, whether it is to avoid the situation, escape the situation, and refuse. And I can let Stuart talk some about what that discussion is like. We really let the kids lead the discussion and keep the discussion where it's going to go based on their risk factors and what they bring up.
So oftentimes at this stage, when we discuss feelings and actions, I then pose those questions. And if we were doing the slideshow, there's questions about the thought process and how do you get to those feelings. And then I ask the youth all the time when there's a question about the times you've been successful in positive thinking. I'll stop on that question and just have them reflect on successes that they've had thus far in life, wherever they are. And it's often ironic to see kids not give you a success right off the bat when there's tons that they've been successful at. And so just having them focus on some of those smaller things and then tying that back into those goals and dreams, where we start and how do we get there. Then from the feelings we then discuss, or then what then becomes your actions. We go through a full scenario of feelings and how do you feel when, certain things in life happen, and then how does that correlate to your actions and what you then do and the results of those things. And quite often kids are still very much in that mindset of violence, and the first response to most of what they feel is anger, and then it's a violent act immediately almost. And so really just challenging the mindset that everything doesn't need to have a violent response based on the feeling that you're having. And then from there, just really going through the process, identifying, how to stop, using your thought stopper, letting them know that there's certain things that you can do for yourself. I share my why I do this, why I'm a part of that, and that is growing up with the background in violence and in gangs in New York City, so I'm able to share that with them, witnessing a very violent act and a murder, which is my why for doing this. It's my passion because I understand how to make that U-turn, no pun intended, but how to make that U-turn and make it out of that type of a lifestyle and actually become a little bit more successful in life. Through graduation of colleges and then as well as obtaining a graduate degree and showing them that these things are still possible pending those mistakes that you've made and how you respond to those mistakes. And so just going through that curriculum with them, it's always enlightening for me. I feel like I learn more than I ever give out. So.
We talk a lot about what their risk factors are because they don't know.
So Doc, let me ask you,
Yes, please.
last time I saw you all, you weren't, I don't remember them being a part, but since you all got the agreement with like CHI
No,
and UNMC, you've become a part?
I've been a part of the program since its
Since day
inception.
one.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we also talk to the kids about their risk factors and their protective factors and trying to make that distinction clear so that they can see what incidents and what circumstances in their life may put them at risk and what they can do to be able to build those protective factors and that resilience to be able to get out of some of the challenges that they're currently in. So what does this look like? Started April 2017, we've held 24 classes with 226 participants. 3/4 of them were male, 1/4 were female. About half of the group were African American, a third of the group Latino or Hispanic. And you see the remaining demographics. A lot of these kids, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, again, we serve the age group 12 to 18. And this is the group that we've seen the most of, and these really are at-risk group. So 21% of them have been in detention, 21% on probation, 17% had an arrest, and 7% tell us that they are gang affiliated and currently actively engaged in gang activity. This is what it looks like. This is me in the trauma bay. This is the youth with us. Again, another view of us in the trauma bay. And here we are in the classroom. This is Stuart bringing the group through to our curriculum that we just discussed.
One of the things we do is we do a pre and post survey, so we do ask them about risk factors, protective factors before the class, and some of them are very good about identifying them, and some of them really struggle with it. And then we ask them the same questions afterwards so that they're actually applying that information. Hopefully it's sinking in, they're actually thinking about, okay, who am I hanging out with or where am I at that causes me to get in trouble? And then who can I go to or where can I be with that will keep me out of trouble? And that's really the goal, is for them to start that thought process and start identifying that before they're in the situation. And Stuart does a great job of slowing down that how I feel, how I act portion of it. And that's where we spend a lot of the meat of the time with them, because they tend to skip that emotion. And everything is just, what am I supposed to do? How do I react? And so we spend a lot of time slowing down so they can even recognize in themselves. And it's really amazing to see that not all of them will take it in, but the ones that do take it seriously, a transformation, you can just see that moment in their eye, like, oh, I never thought of that, or wow, that could be me because of these things that I'm doing. And so it's been really
And the realization is, we have several youth who have come in with gang violence, and as you were saying, the realization of what happens on the other side of that gun is really an eye-opening event for them. So it's just a type of programming we've been looking for to address our gang population, which can range from 1/4 to 1/3, 40%. So it gives us a chance to react and to give them some tools up front that they could use that, so once they're out of the youth center, they can hopefully take some of those tools with them and incorporate them in their daily lives.
So at what stage, at what point in coming into the center does a kid see it?
Well, we just finished doing videos, showing the videos for all the units. For the past 4.5, 5 months, someone from U-Turn has been coming over and meeting with our individuals in our high-intensity units. So, and we're meeting in a week or so to plan the next round of videos.
So the high-intensity units would be safe to say are pretty much the ones, because some people can turn out pretty quick.
Yeah, our high intensity are those with a little bit more violent charges.
Okay. And I just asked that question because your intent is rehabilitative in nature.
Well,
so most likely, if a kid is sitting there really long, they're either waiting to replace someone. Most kids aren't sitting in there that long, so these kids of the severest intensity would be the ones that mostly would see it or mostly would catch it because they're the only ones standing.
Well, we like to get, and that's true, those are the youth that's there the longest, so we're able to do a little bit more with them. But our intent is to hopefully get as many youth that actually come to the youth center to actually see the video. Now, the realization is we may have to do some adjustments for those videos because getting Dr. Evans and Ashley and Stewart to come to do 1 or 2 youth is a bit of a underutilization of talents and time. So, but the intent, we like as many as possible. And we average over the past few years just about 1,000 youth a year coming through the facility. We like to see the majority of them see the video.
So if they're in the more severe security range down there, most likely they're waiting there for adult stuff.
In many cases, yes.
Okay. So that's just the distinction I want to deal. You got the kids on adult charges, which seems like mostly you all are because they're the most heinous, and they're waiting to go. And those kids will eventually end up East Omaha. But the majority of the kids there are not there on that severe deal. They're waiting for placement and nothing.
Placement, go through their adjudication, waiting to go through their court trial.
Good.
Both, yes.
And as we continue to work with other organizations, we may also catch them on the outside. So if the parents in a part of their treatment plan, if that's what you call it, their discharge planning or their reentry, is to include this, and we're happy to bring them to the hospital, to see them on the outside of the facility.
Okay.
But the goal would be is to capture all youth.
Okay.
And U-Turn is also one of our adopted units, so once a month they're already in the facility having lunch with one of the units.
Okay. So some of those kids that may not be there with you, the other Boys and Girls Club, you catch them there, you show what else you can.
Yep, and there are several high schools, I think 2 or 3 middle schools.
We're making our way.
Okay. That's great. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. We did bring some pamphlets to leave behind if you're interested in
Okay.
handing them out. Our contact information's on there, so.
Can you send that through email? Just to have?
The presentation?
Yeah, or is it copyright?
The video does not send well.
No problem.
I
saw that.
And that, unfortunately, I'm sorry, it has to do with the connection between a computer and a main screen. We usually do a direct cord connection, so it's not so dizzying, but.
But they have a copy of it down there.
Correct, we have a DVD.
Yes, they do,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right.
I have a quick question.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let me. Are you all good?
Totally.
Come on with you. State your name.
My name is Tyler Wilson. I live here in Omaha, and I am a state certified correctional officer and a jail standards certified correctional officer. Have you guys reached out to the state juvenile prison in the maybe having someone from them come in and talk to the class about if you continue on this path, you're going to end up here?
That's a part of what Stewart actually does. Not actually, of course, from the state corrections, but the curriculum is geared to follow that flow of the consequences if you continue on that path.
Right, okay. Because, have you seen the juvenile prison out east?
At Carter Lake?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
I've actually,
environment.
I've visited with Ken Schmidt there,
Okay.
in the past, and we're growing right now, DCYC was our first stop. That definitely is on our priority list.
And I didn't work at the juvenile side, I worked in the penitentiary, so I dealt with a lot of different clientele, which will call it.
Right.
But that's all I have, I was just curious.
But Mark,
Thank you.
let me follow on that. Most likely, and in the line of question I was asking, because our facility is rehabilitative in nature.
Well,
the kids-
technically, we take care of what's considered crisis management. We're technically not a rehabilitative center.
Well, let me reframe that. Our juvenile justice system is rehabilitative. So my distinction in that is saying, to your question, I guess from the notes, the most severe classified kids see this video.
Yes, well, we like to think as many as possible,
But
but
for sure
certainly
those kids-
certainly
okay.
those.
And most likely from the question is, because those kids are probably on a more severe matter, once they go to juvenile court, they're not gonna stay with us. They're gonna go to East Omaha. So in essence, that East Omaha kid is seeing it here. So I just wanted to clear that up with you.
Yeah, and, now granted, that juvenile prison houses juveniles for the entire state. So not all of them are exposed to gang violence. Majority, yes, but I think everyone that goes to juvenile jail should see that, because it makes you stop and think.
One thing I also just want to point out, and I think to not allow this to be framed as only gang violence. I think the bigger notion here is that one of the emphasis on this story is that Roberto was not a gang member, and it still occurred to him. And so I think the larger approach is that, as you stated, some are not coming from that same type of environment, but again, it's the nature of violence and the mindset of violence in general and as a whole that we really want to focus on, because it's not just the fact that you're a gang member or part of that sort of lifestyle, that you're not a part of any sort of violence in your life or in your community. And so I think the bigger notion is that this is more of a violence prevention, and there's a gang element in that because we understand the population we're working with, but there's a lot of individuals that are exposed to violence, that are victims of violence, and it has nothing to do with the gang. It's interpersonal conflict, and that's some of more of that, I believe, is what we tend to focus on, because we had a kid with that realization of, I'm not in a gang and this could happen to me at the very end of the class, and I think that really hit home for that individual that day. And so on a larger scale, I think it's just the nature of violence. We all see it in our society, and I think for us, the approach is, how do we combat violence in general versus it just being a gang violence issue. It's violence in general.
No, you're a good point. And so I just want to make sure that everybody connects that. So if the kid was there, Mark was saying, and the doctor was saying that they'll catch him at the Boys and Girls Club or places you all have partnership with. So it's bigger than that. I just wanted to keep it where we might, how many we catch for sure. And the rest of them, it's not definitely, but hopefully the other programs in the Boys and Girls Club, you can connect them to there and see.
We're probation.
Yeah.
We're trying to intertwine with programs that already exist.
Right.
Just another, as Deputy Chief says, another tool in the toolbox, really. Is how can, if we throw everything at them, hopefully someone will grab their attention.
Okay. You had a question?
Yeah, and Mr. LaFleur, maybe this is to you.
Are you talking about the stat sheet?
Sorry?
Are you talking about the stat sheet? That's what you're looking at?
I'm talking about the
Okay. Go.
program here.
'Cause I was saying we were
So, if I'm reading this right, somewhere between 15 and 20% of the youth at the youth center in a given time are there on adult crimes, felonies or misdemeanors, traffic offenses. So it looks like we're holding at a population somewhere in the 70s for total admissions per month. Those 20% of the 540 admitted so far this year, you know, that would be somewhere between 50 and 100. Are they given these these same programs, are they exposed to these same informational videos?
Yes,
They're
sir.
treated the same as the balance of the population?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. And the population today is what, do you know?
Today we have 84.
84. So is there any difference between the curricula in the youth center for children charged with adult crimes or children being adjudicated through the juvenile court system?
No, there's no difference in the curriculum. They have teachers, they attend school. We have additional programs where they can participate in, but they're available for everyone.
Okay. But legally speaking, they're not in the juvenile court system. They're not there for rehabilitation, education. They're there on adult crimes. They're there in the criminal justice system, correct?
Yeah, part of that is correct. About half of those youth that are showing up in adult court, they're also in juvenile court. And so we have some movement going from one court to the next. But to answer your question, it's not, this isn't hard or fast, just adult court. They can also be in juvenile court as well.
I got you. Do they tend to stay longer in the youth center than children in the juvenile justice system?
Well, for the older youth,
Well, just ones that are facing misdemeanor traffic or felony offenses versus ones that are there as delinquent status offender, juvenile justice.
typically those with the felony charges will stay later, typically. But we've seen an increase that's gone from an average of 30 days per person to up to 50 days. And a lot of that has to do with where youth are being placed at as well. We have some youth that have gone through their adjudication and are waiting long periods of time to actually leave the facility to go to their placement. And there's a variety of different reasons for that. But the average length of stay has moved up per youth about 20 days overall.
To what?
To 50. 50 days average length of stay.
Thanks.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes, thank you.
So Mark, let me pass it out and let me go to the sheet.
Yes, sir.
So based on that last question, so Greg started the new role as an expedient.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
What type of training is he getting?
Well, right now he's getting training with the basic system. He's doing the IMS, he's doing justice, and NCJS. So he'll be able to track the students all the way through. The IMS is the county system, NCJS and justice is the state system.
Okay. Let me go back and set stage. For those people that may not have been at past meetings, the expediator position is a position that's in some JDAI places. Brad and those guys formed Greg's position to expedite a position. The expediator's job is for some of the kids that are sitting there and not moving. To what Mark said, there are a lot of kids that shouldn't be sitting there, but because there's not a service, they're not moving. So what Greg's job is as the expediator, he's gonna ride herd on those services that kids are sitting in to move them out of the facility so they're not sitting there and they're getting service at a more closely part. So that's what the expediator's position is. So I guess Greg's working on getting up to speed now.
If he's getting up to speed, it's already a part of the multidisciplinary treatment team meeting.
Okay.
So on Tuesdays, we talk about those youth who have mental health conditions that need to be addressed,
Okay.
as well as those youth who have gone through adjudication that are still pending. So he has access to the information for those youth who are awaiting placement. And part of the challenges are there are some services that aren't available within the state.
Mm-hmm.
So we end up having to send some young people out state to receive those services.
Mm-hmm.
And the wait time to actually access them is getting more and more difficult.
Okay. So when you think Greg's gonna be ready to, and like I said in the email to you, I don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good. When
Well,
is he gonna be ready to kind of lay out some reports so we can start looking at the numbers and?
well, he's already started
Okay.
working on that. So
Okay.
I would, in fairness to him, I'd like to give him 30 days, possibly up
That's
to,
fine.
up to
No,
60.
my thought was
just to,
September.
yeah, make sure he's got the full range. And of course, we're meeting with the school district, OPS, to talk about transition, youth going back into school, as well as expediting their entrance getting back into school. And we meet with the school district this week,
Okay.
and Greg is a part of that meeting.
Okay, so match up for me, and it might just, I don't know how big this is. So the 79 that were average for July, but then the 86 total admission for the month.
Correct.
Why is that all?
Yeah, we have some youth that, we had a few youth that left, but those are the youth that were actually in.
Okay.
That was our average for the month was 79. The total number that came in was 86.
Okay.
And we have it broken down at the top. First, the total of days of care for the month. Then we have the average daily length of stay by youth that's in on new charges. That's at 33. Average length of stay for youth in probation. Average length of stay for those youth leaving adult court. And then the roll-up for all four together. And the adult court typically appears to be high because we really have few that are leaving. In this particular case, we had 2 youth that were 150 days total.
And was that due to the court calendar?
Sir?
Was that due to the court calendar, the adults?
Typically, once that youth has gone through their court trial, they have to wait until their 18th birthday until they're moved. So in many cases, once we see the youth that's already completed his trial, they're waiting for their birthday before they could be relocated.
Okay. So still do pre, the capacity is 96, right?
Yes.
Okay.
May I ask you a question?
Come on.
Explain to me the 18th birthday when the age of majority is not until you're 19.
Well,
Why
if you're...
do some things start at 18?
Well, that's a good question. With regards to youth detention, if a youth is with us and they have adult charges on their 18th birthday, then they are moved to adult corrections. If that youth is in juvenile court, then that youth can remain in detention until their 19th birthday.
He doesn't have full rights till you're 19, though, correct?
Well, I can't speak about full rights, but from a detention point of view, 18 is where they go to adult corrections, and Nebraska is kind of unique in that regard. We see some states where they send young people at 16 and 17 to adult corrections, but we're fortunate in Nebraska that's not the case.
And on the state level, they can remain at the juvenile.
Until they're 21.
So I think it's either 21 or 21 and a half. It's some weird number, but, so if they're recommended to state custody, then they stay in juvenile detention longer. Just because the transition from juvenile to adult prison is a lot more drastic environment change.
I just like to point out very quickly that those seem like very arbitrary things. I don't think there's anything in the federal or state constitution that defines age limits.
That's the state.
When you don't have legal rights till you're 19, but you guys make decisions for them when they're 18.
Well, technically, they're making their own decision. They have an attorney.
Sir, I don't want to take long. I'm just pointing out there's a big inconsistency there.
And I want to just note to you, that's the state senator's call.
Yep.
That's the state legislature's call.
It's state law. They tell us who goes where.
We don't set that.
Well,
We just
maybe we ought
mentioned.
to take some of our powers back in the state, okay? That's all I want to say. Move on.
All right. When are you all scheduled to come to the board this month?
I don't believe we are scheduled for August, but Brad, he's back tomorrow.
Okay. Talk to him about a date. There's a meeting next month. There's not a week. There's not a meeting the third week. So I asked him, is it possible for the 4th?
28th or something?
Yeah, for the 28th before Labor Day.
Okay.
You got anything else you want to add in?
No, just to point, of course, the number of youth that's in juvenile court, as Commissioner Kavanaugh already alluded to, and then county court. And next month, we'll bring it broken down by race.
Okay, appreciate it. The Juvenile Assessment Center, you got a report there if you didn't get it, this one here. I'm gonna, if you don't, let me know so I can pass it. Just know, so she has numbers there, but you saw the email yesterday, there'll probably be a resolution next week. Staff member there, Alonzo Mitchell, died Friday after work of a heart attack. So they're down 3 people on vacation now, plus him. I know she's been working with the family, so they're tied up now. That's why she's not even dealing with all of that in regards to Mitch's passing. So you got data information there from them about what's going on to some degree. I think the big thing to know in there is at a JDI request, they're going to start getting some more data broke down by zip code, but also some more race-related data to get at some of the DMC stuff. So you got that there included. Health Department, for the record, everybody, unless they have something particular around youth stuff, they have some particular youth things that are there. If they have something, they will come. JDAI, Shelley is at a training. So with that, Janae, I'll go to you.
Okay, thank you. First, obviously Operation Youth Success, sincere condolences to Jack and all their staff and the juvenile justice family. We worked very closely together, and so it was heartbreaking news this weekend when we all learned about Mitch. August 16th, the Operation Youth Success steering committee will be working on their strategic planning. And so that meeting, basically the steering committee meeting time has been extended 3 hours, but it will not be open to the public since we're doing strategic planning. That's noted on our calendar. Amber Parker, who had been a part of Operation Youth Success basically from the inception, has moved on to work in the grants department with the city of Omaha. Wishing her well. I think it will actually help strengthen collaboration and coordination between funding streams and activities that are going on with the mayor's office in the city of Omaha and the work of Operation Youth Success and the community-based aid grants. And then just the last few weeks, there's been the mention of Operation Youth Success during the county board meeting, so I would just like to take this opportunity to clarify just a few things. Yeah, you bet. Operation Youth Success has been part of some of the county board meeting, open public comments mostly, and I just would like to take this opportunity to clarify a few things. Operation Youth Success is actually a backbone organization. We do not set any policies or any practice, legislation, anything like that. We bring juvenile justice stakeholders together in work groups and task forces, and they're actually who drive the work of Operation Youth Success and juvenile justice reform in Douglas County. Related to community-based aid processes, there again, we also help support through project management the community-based aid grants through the county administration policies and practices that are guided by the Nebraska Crime Commission. We don't receive hundreds of thousands of dollars. We don't receive the community-based aid. That is all county receives that. County board approves the grant application, all of those things. And the last thing is that Operation Youth Success is not involved or a part of the proposed juvenile justice center. That is not in our purview either. We're truly a backbone organization about juvenile justice reform in Douglas County and support work groups and the stakeholders that make up those work groups that are prior involved juvenile justice youth, their family members, service providers, county judges, probation, all the different stakeholders. So I just wanted to get that clarified a little bit, and hopefully after the strategic planning I'll be able to come before the full board and provide you some additional information, and I would always entertain any meeting or questions anyone else would have. So I thank you for that time.
May we have an opportunity at the next open meeting to maybe rebut what you just said?
What do you?
You can rebut anything.
I don't want to keep this meeting from ending because it's not a public hearing. I'm just saying, you're kind of looking at me, and I have.
This is technically a public meeting, so if you can answer that.
I would like to have a chance to debate you at the public meeting.
What's your question for?
About what?
No, what's your question?
Yeah.
All right, specifically, did the county or did the county not, or one of the governing bodies in this city and state, at least 2 years ago, I was involved with a group of ladies that were monitoring that, such an OIS, OPS, OPS, OIS. And there were various community partners, stakeholders, foundations involved in it, outside people that came in to study. You
Outside.
put this into figures on the last meeting, and you distributed it in color form, all the statistics that you gathered. But we in fact paid somebody money to come in and study the use and gather the data. And you're saying now that OYS and OPS was not part of that?
No, we haven't done anything with OPS.
The documents from 2 years ago that
Nah, you don't have anything. What you're referencing was, and I know the ladies, that I think they were co-mingling that. There was no joint project that OIS has done with OPS.
I know she had hard time getting answers.
OPS
I don't wanna drag that out
participates
today.
on our work group, commit different teachers and social workers and et
I'll just point
cetera.
out another example and then I'll leave because I don't want to be too contentious. Because we all need solutions, okay? I'm not faulting some of the things you do. But there are so many organizations that are dipping into my pocket for property taxes. One of them, I suppose somebody will refute that the Learning Community Council is not doing this. And they are.
I have
They are
no
dipping
idea.
into property taxes for their programs, child welfare programs. I've been in Boy Scouts, I've been a child welfare worker. I've got a grandson with problems, so I know a lot about this stuff. There are so many organizations, they all have good intentions, but how come we're hiring somebody else to carry on with something? We have people in Omaha and Nebraska that can do these programs. Why do we hire a judge from Pennsylvania? Why do we hire Terra Luna? Why do we hire or get advice from Sherwood Foundation and then turn around and sign contracts with them for money to do their services? That's my point, and I will bring that up again.
Well, no, let me answer your point now, because
That's today's not a public hearing.
yes, it is public hearing.
Okay.
This is a public meeting. So the
I don't
answer
have
to
the briefcase, I don't have a computer with everything on it.
no, but that's what I'm saying. If you got your questions, let's answer them. So
I'm just saying, she sounded like this is absolving everybody here in this room at that table of having responsibility for that.
no, there's no, the only public money in OIS is state money, and then there's 4 additional private partners. There's Sherwood, there's Logier, there's the Bill and Ruth Scott Foundation, and then there's Kiewit. There's no county money per se, but there's property tax money, there's public state money. Your instance that you're talking about the judge, I have no idea.
All the data you collected, all the, who collected it, and how much, who
No.
collected it?
There
How
was
much
a,
did you pay 'em? That's,
no, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. The judge, I don't know what you're talking about with the judge. For the learning community deals mostly with early education stuff. We don't deal with the learning.
everything listed on the agenda here.
But no, sir, I'm trying to answer your question.
That's, I don't wanna ruin it all today, okay? Thank you.
Okay, fine.
But obviously, somebody is responsible for the tax dollars going for this. So, let's, don't pass the buck.
Thank you.
In other words, don't pass it to the state. The state passes it back here, you pass it to the state. But it's money out of my pocket.
Yes, sir, I was trying to answer.
My property taxes are paying for it.
Okay,
Learning Community is gonna have a topic on that in a couple of nights, and they have it in their budget.
they won't
This
have
is how
anything
much- this is
with
how
us. They won't have anything with us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You good?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Let me go other business. Let me give you all an update on, there's a task force at the state being done on LB 1112. LB 1112 was a bill passed by the state. Basically, that bill puts into effect in 2019, and I know Shelley mentioned at the last meeting, but this is the first official meeting we had, the group of the people I recognize, the room that's on there, myself, Larry Dix from NACO, Judge O'Neill, I know from Sarpy County, another Sarpy County judge. Judge Daniels is on there. A Lancaster County judge, a couple from Lancaster, and a few people from other programs across the state of Nebraska. What LB 1112 is going to do is not allow kids to be detained for risk to self. So that is the thing that will no longer able to be done. So with them not being able to be detained under the classification as risk to self, they won't be able to be in detention centers anymore. So the deal is to work through the state to get people's concerns and put things in place. So some of those kids, they're not exactly the same kids, but like Mark noted, kids that are waiting at the service. Some kids may be sitting in our place because the judge declares that they're risk to self. They won't be able to longer sit there by state law, so we will begin to find the services for them so they won't be there. So by the judges not being able to do that, that's going to eliminate a whole class of people that could be placed there. So that's a regular meeting that we're having. I'll keep you updated on it, but that's going to go in implementation in a year. Senator Vargas is chairing that. It was a healthy discussion. There was one person I know as a prosecutor from Lancaster County that kind of expresses desire that we should go back to detaining youth under risk to self, which is not for best practice. But the group's mentality is to keep forward, and Senator Vargas kind of voiced that the lawmakers are not moving back from that. So as that goes, I'll let you know. But just know, yeah, it's going to be a change, and that's going to stop certain classifications from being able to be housed in the youth detention center.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're saying they can only be detained for self-harm. Can they still be detained to prevent harm to themselves?
No, that's the same thing.
So
and the reason where they classified as most of these kids are being held there because of shelter care beds and other things like that. So the question is, we need to ramp up our programming to do that. The word is that they haven't created an offense. They're putting them there because of they're scared of other things that may or may not come to fruition. So best practice is they shouldn't be there in the first place.
Does that include a youth there with mental health conditions?
It will, if they classify it as that, and that was the conversation. They brought in discussion to bring hospitals in, but the fact is that the whole discussion is about the services, and they shouldn't be sitting in there to have the service. They should be outside.
My understanding is just a handful of kids. There's not that many that would fall into that category, but obviously that's not where you put a kid.
Exactly.
For that reason, that makes sense.
So I might be a bit, I haven't read up on it. So if they're an immediate threat to themselves, they cannot be detained?
They're not going to be able to after July 2019. The fact is, if they're immediate threat to themselves, most of that is because of some mental health or other, or threat to themselves, and some of the explanations of the judges are they can't send them back home to the parent because the parent's environment is bad. May not be just the kids. So the fact is, you may have some that are there, but you need a place to place them besides detention that is there. So that's where the shelter bed discussion came, because risk to self is not whole, it's a broad definition, and included in that is the fact that you're at risk to self because I can't put you back in the environment you're in. Right. So they're used under that. So it's not exactly the key.
So say a juvenile has, say, a razor blade to their wrist, and law enforcement gets called. Law enforcement can't detain them for their own
That you're going too deep for me.
They just can't put them in jail.
You're going too deep for me on that. I'm just telling you what I know.
So they theoretically can be detained, they just cannot be put in detention.
Yeah, you take them to Richard Young, or you take them, I mean, not Richard, but Emmanuel.
Right, okay, that's what I was confused, I was like, they can't be.
Well, but you don't classify that as detention, so.
But you know, what ends up happening.
Wait a minute, Mark, let me just, because I know you got.
No, I think you were touching on it there. So there's a separate section of law relative to danger to yourself or others that can line you in the Board of Mental Health. And you can be restrained awaiting a Board of Mental Health disposition there. Separate from what Commissioner Rogers is talking about detention in the youth center or any other agency. So the Board of Mental Health statutes it doesn't make any difference if you're a minor or an adult, they apply to human beings. And if you're a danger to yourself or others and you meet these criteria, you can be detained, and then the board meets at the Douglas County Health Center regularly, weekly, I think, and you're afforded counsel. There's a county attorney present. There are 3 members of the board, and they determine whether or not to commit you for psychiatric treatment because you meet the threshold of you're a danger to yourself or others.
Okay,
So that's separate from what he's talking about is the juvenile detention center, the youth center.
I thought it was referring to the physical act of.
I think this is specifically juveniles that he's
Specifically juvenile.
talking about.
And that's the separation. Adults, you got 50% of the people sitting in there because they can't go in the house. That's it.
Right.
But juveniles, they're not going to allow you to be detained for that. You need to get the service so you can be there. And as an adult, you actually shouldn't be detained for that. We just can't find yourself.
Just kind of a point of interest. As we see young people go to the residential treatment centers or intensive residential treatment centers, if in fact they have a difficult time with that individual, or if they strike a staff person, they're coming back to the youth center.
That was discussion too. And eventually the discussion got to money, which it always gets to. And one of the conversations they're going to have, which will like this, is they're going to bring in the State Hospital Association. Because, and the conversation of community benefit came up. And so they're going to engage the hospitals in some communities where they're at to see if there's a way to, see for them to partner on that. I don't know what comes of it. They're going to bring it just because, a lot of discussion got to talking about sources of revenue, what would happen with that, the whole bigger piece. But no matter what, I just give you the update on it because, the board's doubled down just in its philosophy on that. We're not going to house that. So the state's helping pull the trigger with that and that you're not going to be able to house certain deals. So no matter what, the board is going to have to, if the state doesn't step up to some degree, the board will step up to make sure that person can't be housed there anymore.
Yeah, which would be great. Just be mindful that if a youth isn't going to be successful there, that we still turn into the location where they're sent.
Well, we're going to have to find an alternative because they won't be able to sit there anymore.
And this goes to our chronic shortage of mental health beds in Douglas County. We recently, at the Board of Trustees at Douglas County Health Center, heard from our director that there are 0 long-term mental health beds in Douglas County. 0. Not 1, not 10, 0. So if you're taking this process and you're saying this individual is a danger to themselves or others, and may be for some time, there are 0 beds for that person. And part of, I think that what Commissioner Rogers is touching on is the resources aren't there currently. We have a healthcare community, as Commissioner Morgan points out rightfully, that pays no property taxes, that they are not for profit. And yet, we have 0 beds to absorb this population. And so, how do we get from here to there? It does us very little good to say, you are a danger to yourself or others, and you need long-term psychiatric care, if there is no long-term psychiatric care. So, it's a conundrum, but we don't have the capacity right now. It's a real crisis right now in terms of long-term health care in Douglas County.
So, right, true.
So good luck getting money out of the hospitals.
Yeah, that's exactly so. That's pretty much, but that piece came out of it. But the other piece too, that Nolan, Marianne, Commissioner Borgeson brings up all the time, is that we're trying to get there, and I think the judges are coming, and they're there about, it's not just treating the kid now, you gotta treat the family. So we want to treat the family to be able to put that kid back in there in a better piece. So the family discussion about treatment was talked about a lot by the judges, and I don't think it'll be a short time before it bubbles up.
There's some brochures here on UNMC and their cards, in case anyone wants to pick them up. Thank you.
We had a question down on the.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I'm from Sarpy County.
Okay.
I come to a lot of these meetings because I care about old buildings, and I've enjoyed visiting in Omaha since we've been here in 1965. But I heard a figure of $37,558,000 used for downtown destruction versus improvement of the current campus. And then I heard that so many beds were not being utilized at the current campus, but they couldn't use them for anything other than jail or juvenile detention. They couldn't use it because of some laws with jail and not having mental health facilities on that same campus. Is there some way to modify it to be able to use those beds and employ people in mental health to utilize the beds that are out there now on 42nd not being utilized?
I don't know which beds you're talking about, they're not being utilized.
Well, he said there were 144 beds maximum.
Oh, at the youth center.
Oh, well, okay.
Well, keep
That's
in mind,
fine.
Mark, you can explain, but it's a classification thing, so just because you have, let's say you have 80 kids in there, you have 144 beds, but you have to classify kids in different ways, so you have to put some kids over here and some kids over there, so you might have some units that are partially full, because you can't put kids together.
Right.
So,
But
I don't know
for
how
the
many
record,
beds,
for the
right?
record, the capacity of the youth center for the last 2 years hasn't been 144. It's 96. It's not 144. 144 is an old number. It used to be. It's the capacity of the center now is 96. Getting at your question, that depends on who you ask. You can renovate anything, but is the cost worth renovating?
Well, if you
Better
have
than-
none right now, and you would have the potential of maybe even 12 beds that
Well,
could somehow be
well, you can't take-
separated completely
Yeah.
from.
You can't, I don't think there's anywhere in that facility to separate out and run a mental health
Can't run a
facility to that
long-term
degree.
care, because you're talking about a long-term
Yeah.
care. We have
You're talking
mental
about
health
something
beds.
else.
We have 5 East, that's the Community Mental Health Center, we have the PICU, the Community Mental Health Center. There are beds at Emmanuel, there are beds at Lasting Hope, it's just that we don't have a long-term care facility like there is in some places within Douglas County for mental health. And there's no way that we could do that specific, like a long-term care thing. You can't put that in the same facility as a detention center.
Now, to your question about, and this is my personal thing, it would cost more to rehab that place and make it best practice than it would to do what's being proposed. If you had another facility, you can probably take that facility and change it into something based on the land. And there's a lot of discussion about doing that. Matter of fact, I didn't bring it up. People at the committee, saying, can Douglas Sarpy do a joint thing over at the youth center? I was like, we got a long way to go before we get there. But my personal opinion, there's buildings around here that people will not spend the money to rehab because it would cost more than building a new building. I think that's where the situation is, where everything is caught up is there. I think there's some interest, particularly if Sarpy would engage in it, to do a joint piece. We've been trying to do a joint piece with them with adult for a while. They got to sign off on it. So that's my opinion on that.
I've got 2 questions.
Come on.
When did the capacity of the youth center drop and why?
2 years ago, it dropped because the rate.
Prison
rate
I mean,
elimination.
there are still beds,
Yeah.
but it's just they can't be used because you have to have 1 for 8 instead of 1 for 12 with staff. So, practically speaking, it's effective is 96 because of that.
Okay, so the effective capacity is 96.
Right.
Theoretically, you've got room more.
If we were properly staffed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, like, there were physically only.
No, there's still
96.
140.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but my gut, the board's not trying to fill back up to 144.
No,
It's not
but
happening.
I was just,
Yeah,
I was confused because I thought you meant like there are only physically 96 beds.
Yeah.
Question 2, do you have any data or statistics that I could get a hold of in regards to that rehabbing a building costs more than new construction?
No, I don't. But I know in respects to not for a particular building, I would have to have somebody do that. But there are, I can say based on experience of several older buildings or similar, that most people aren't putting a lot of rehab money into buildings like that. They're building from scratch because of the technology and other things that come in, which you would have to invest in to make that. So technically, no, I don't have any comparison, but I do have good sound comparison of similar buildings around the country and around here that nobody has rehab in. So for the record, no, I don't have anything there, but I feel 80% sound. That's it.
If you find any,
Sure.
I'd love to take a glance at it.
Sure. We adjourn. Thank you all.